Oh, listen to me as the flames of fire dance. Now I will tell you a story from the icy lands of the north. A story that will make you feel the cold winds in your bones and warm your soul in the warmth of the flames. This is not just a saga, but a journey into the heart of Norse mythology. An adventure where you will witness gods, giants, heroes, and in the end, the destruction of everything. We open a window into an ancient time where every corner is full of secrets, where behind every name lies a power. This story starts from that time when the world was nothing. Imagine a void, dear listeners, only darkness and silence. This void is known in Norse mythology as Ginnungagap. There was no light, no sign of life. A vast nothingness stretching between Muspelheim, the land of fire in the south. But even in that silence there was energy. The wheels of fate began to turn. Then one day, the ice of the north and the flames of the south met at Ginnungagap. The ice melted, the fire cooled, and between them was born the first giant named Ymir. A huge giant, a being made of cold and fire, a being that preceded even the gods. But Ymir was not alone. Rivers of milk flowed from the melting ice, and these rivers fed a giant cow named Ymir. And there emerged a being that Ymir shaped out of the salt ice with his tongue, Buri, the ancestor of the gods. After Buri came Bor, the first generation of gods, and his three sons, Odin, Vili, and Vev. This, dear listeners, is where the story of Odin and his brothers begins. They were the first to take the first step towards the rise of the gods. These three brave brothers feared the might of Ymir and made a monumental decision. They would kill Ymir and create the world from his body. And so they did. Earth was created from Ymir's flesh, seas from his blood, mountains from his bones, and the sky from his skull. And from his eyebrows they built a protected realm for men and gods, Midgard. But dear friends, stop and think. Every creation is a beginning, but it also carries a price. So, how will Ymir's death be followed by the vengeance of the giants, the struggles within the gods themselves, and the eventual fall of the world? Are you ready to dive deeper into this epic story? Because the real story is just beginning. Now close your eyes and listen to me, my dear friends. Imagine a world where nothingness reigns. Neither light nor shadow, neither life nor death. There was only Ginnungagap, an endless and silent void. But this void was no ordinary void. It held the power of two opposite worlds. Niflheim, the land of freezing cold to the north, and Niflheim, the home of burning flames to the south. These two worlds waited silently at either end of Ginnungagap, in a balance of opposing yet complementary forces. Niflheim. Imagine, dear listeners, ice and snow, deep freezing cold. This land hid a sacred spring that fed the 9 worlds, Hvergelmir. Cold rivers flowed from this source, flowing in the silence of Niflheim, whispering with every drop the secret of life and death. But against this cold land of the north rose the scorching heat of Muspelheim to the south. This was the land of flame and light. And do you know who its guardian was? Surtur. He stood with a flaming sword in his hand, ready for the next great battle, Ragnarok. These two opposing forces met one day on the borders of Ginnungagap. Cold and heat, ice and fire, created an energy that broke the silence. This meeting turned the first wheel of destiny, and in that moment, the glacial drops melted, shaped by heat, and a living being was born. Ymir, he was the first giant. His gigantic body filled the void of Ginnungagap. His very breathing set the wheels of the world in motion. But Ymir was not alone for long. Another life was born from the melting ice. Odjumbla, a giant cow. Imagine her milk flowing like rivers. As these rivers of milk fed Ymir, Odjumbla performed another miracle. As she licked the salty ice, a being took shape, Buri, the ancestor of the gods. After Bori, things began to develop even faster. Bori's son, continued the lineage of the gods. And one day Bori's sons Odin, Vili, and Ve were born. They were disturbed by Ymir's massive presence, for there was no place for the gods in this chaotic world order. Ymir's might was both a threat and an opportunity, and they made a decision that changed the course of the universe forever. Odin and his brothers set out to kill Ymir. Who could have known that the death of a giant would become the birth of a universe? Ymir's body disintegrated and the pieces formed the world. His flesh became earth, his blood became the seas, his bones became mountains, his teeth became rocks, and his skull became the sky. The poisonous drops of his icy blood gave birth to new giants. But that was not all. From Ymir's eyebrows, the gods created Midgard, the world of men. This world became a protective space at the heart of the Nine Realms. Oh, my dear friends, think of it. A world was born out of nothingness, an order out of chaos. But the balances within this new order were very fragile, because with Ymir's death, the descendants of the giants began to bear a grudge against the gods. The fire of revenge was as sharp as the cold of Niflheim, and as destructive as the flames of Muspelheim. So now I ask you, what steps would Odin and his brothers take to protect this new world? And how would this inevitable clash between gods and giants shape the fate of the universe? Get ready for answers, because our story is just beginning. Listen, my friends, Ymir's gigantic body had shaped the world. The hands of the gods had turned chaos into order, but the architects of this new order, the gods, were only shadows. Now let us return to the story of these mighty beings who rose from the depths of time and would determine the balance of the universe. Here is Odin, the leader of the Aesir gods. But he was no ordinary leader. He was a god who ruled not only with power, but also with wisdom. Picture Odin. He wears his long cloak, his spear Gungnir in one hand, and his faithful ravens Hugin and Munin on his shoulders. Hugin represented thought and wisdom, and Munin, memory. These two ravens traveled the world every day, whispering to Odin, what they saw. Unlike ordinary gods, he wanted to understand the essence of everything, to access the deepest secrets of the universe. And so began Odin's journey to wisdom. This journey was not easy, for wisdom came at a heavy price. One day Odin reached the roots of Yggdrasil, the tree of life. Ah, my friends, think of Yggdrasil. This majestic tree was the heart of the universe, connecting the nine realms. One of its roots reached to Hel, the land of the dead. One to Asgard, home of the gods. Standing at the roots of Yggdrasil was like feeling the pulse of the universe. Odin found the well of Mimir, connected to the roots of this tree. The waters of the well held all the wisdom of the universe, but anyone who wanted access to this wisdom had to pay a price. Mimir asked Odin, the guardian of the well, to sacrifice an eye, and Odin made that sacrifice without hesitation. That day, he lost one eye, but he came one step closer to the secrets of the universe. That is why Odin's one eye is remembered as a symbol of his quest for wisdom. But wisdom was not Odin's only goal. He had to establish order among the gods, to bring the Aesir and the Vanir together. Yes, my friends, perhaps you have heard of them, Aesir and Vanir. The Aesir were the gods of war and power. Names like Odin, Thor, and Tyr were the mightiest members of this group. The Vanir were the gods of nature and fertility, like Frey, Freya, and Njord. A balance had to be struck between the two groups, but this balance was not easily achieved. A great war broke out between the gods. The armies of the Aesir and the Vanir clashed in the skies of Asgard. Imagine, my dear friends, the clash of the gods. The sky trembled with the clash of spears. The winds were blown by the anger of the gods. But there was no winner in this battle. In the end, both sides realized it was wiser to come to an agreement. The gods of the Aesir and Vanir joined forces to form a peace alliance. This union restored balance in the world of the gods. And Yggdrasil became the symbol of this union. The tree represented not only a link, but a bridge between gods and worlds. The destinies of gods, giants, and mortals converged in the branches of this tree. In the shadow of Yggdrasil, Odin and the other gods came together to shape the future of the universe. But how strong were the foundations of this new order? Could the peace between the gods last forever? And where would the power come from to break it? Ah, my friends. Sacrificing one eye in search of wisdom, Odin not only learned the secrets of the universe, but also began to establish the order of the gods as a leader, a guide, a father figure. Under the branches of Yggdrasil, this magnificent place became the home of the gods. As the world smiteth, they owe. But Asgard was not just a kingdom. It was a sacred space, a center of balance, where order, justice, and at the same time chaos were restrained. When Odin sat on the throne of Asgard, all the gods pledged their allegiance to him. But leadership is no easy task, my friends. Odin was not just a ruler. He was a guide to the gods and a sage who guided their destiny. The majestic walls that rose around Asgard symbolized his authority. However, these walls were not just stones and mortar. They were a barrier between the gods and the chaos of the outside world. Under Odin's leadership, each god in Asgard took on his or her own role, and these roles were crucial to maintaining the balance of the universe. Thor was Odin's most powerful son, the god of the heavens and storms. With his tall, muscular body and legendary hammer, Mjolnir, he was known as the defender of Asgard. Thor's power was not limited to fighting against giants. He was also the guardian of justice and order. But Thor's character was more than just a warrior. His sincere and loyal nature created a strong bond between the gods. Imagine, my dear friends, this god who shook the world by darkening the skies was also one of the most beloved protectors. And Freya, dazzling in her beauty, the goddess of love, war, and magic. Freya was one of Asgard's most elegant figures, but it would be a great mistake to think of her only as a goddess of beauty. She was known for the magic of her Vanir origins and was the keeper of the deepest secrets in the world of the gods. Freya's tears were said to be golden, but her true value was her contribution to the peace of Asgard. Balder, god of light and purity. Ah, Balder. What a beloved figure he was, my friends. His smile brightened the dark days of Asgard. His presence brought peace. But he was also a god who could not escape the harsh realities of fate. Balder's story was a reminder that everything will one day come to an end. Asgard was not only the home of the gods, but also a source of inspiration for humans. People sought guidance from the gods and sought their support in prayer. The relationship between gods and humans was at times loving and at other times complicated. Odin, like a wise king, offered his wisdom to mortals. Thor protected farmers' fields in stormy weather, and Freya united the hearts of lovers. But the basis of this relationship was that both sides needed each other. The gods needed the loyalty and prayers of humans, and humans needed the might and guidance of the gods. But my friends, could this order in Asgard last forever? Was this glorious world of the gods truly an unshakable edifice? Or was fate weaving its web and chaos threatening the order of the gods? Wait and see, because Loki's hands hiding in the shadows are slowly making their way onto the stage. Ah, dear listeners, here he is, the most contradictory, complex, troublesome figure in Norse mythology, Loki. One moment, a cheerful friend, the next, a dangerous enemy. Is he a god who sits beside the Aesir, or a traitor who will lead Asgard to destruction? Understanding who Loki is as difficult as understanding a world born of ice and fire. Deceit is in his nature, but was there something deeper, something else lying beneath the surface? Perhaps Loki was a test to the glory and order of the gods. Let us explore his story together. Loki was a stranger from the land of giants, accepted among the Aesir. He was a companion of the gods, once Odin's friend and Thor's adventuring companion. But understanding Loki is as complex as unraveling his masks. Some see him as a god, others as a spy for the giants. Loki's intelligence and charm kept him among the gods, but, my friends, beneath that charm lay a sinister nature, the seeds of a plan that would change everyone's destiny. The traces of the chaos Loki created are most visible in his children. Ah, his children. Was each of them a gift or a curse, a fate to Asgard and the gods? Take Fenrir first. The gigantic wolf, a creature feared throughout the realms. Fenrir grew and grew, threatening even the gods with his power. When the Aesir decided that he must be chained, Fenrir's wrath was inevitable, but no one knew then that these chains foretold the end of the gods. Then Jormungand, the mid-god serpent. Ah, my dear friends, this creature was so huge that it encircled the whole world, biting its own tail. Lying in the depths of the sea, this serpent was Thor's greatest enemy. The gods acknowledged its existence, but it was never at peace. Its presence signaled the end of everything, and Hel was the ruler of a dark kingdom that ruled the souls of mortals. Asgard was never reconciled to her presence because she represented a truth that the gods did not want to be reminded of. All things must come to an end. But the greatest chaos Loki created, my friends, began with the death of Balder. Balder was the light of Asgard, the joy of the gods. But Loki prepared the way for Balder's death. With a trick, he took away Balder's immortality and opened a wound among the gods that would never heal. Balder's death was not only a loss, but also the first step towards the downfall of Asgard. As the Aesir were shaken by this tragedy, Loki's true nature became clear. He was no longer just a comrade, but an enemy who sealed the fate of the gods. But what were the motives behind Loki's betrayal? Was he driven by greed or a deep sense of revenge? Or perhaps Loki was a tool the universe played to maintain its own balance? Ah, my dear friends, the answers to these questions are hidden only in his complete story. And now, when Loki's chaos sweeps across the realms, how will the gods punish him? And will this punishment really be a solution or a harbinger of a greater catastrophe? I'll leave you with these questions now, and in the next episode we'll find out how the gods take action against Loki and what that action will lead to. Wait, because the storm is just beginning. Ah, my friends, listen and learn the secrets of the gods that echo in the heavens. Today, I will tell you about an ancient story that begins in the shadow of Yggdrasil. We will witness how Odin, in pursuit of wisdom, tests his soul and body, how prophecies from the depths of time plunge Yggdrasil into darkness, and of course, how the shadow of Ragnarok slowly spreads across the realms. Odin was a god who was ready to sacrifice everything for wisdom. His mind was filled not only with the present, but also with the future. But seeing the future was not an easy feat. It required a spiritual journey. One day, he stood beneath the massive roots of Yggdrasil and decided to learn the secrets that the Tree of Life offered him. But Yggdrasil was not a being that shared its secrets easily. To access wisdom, Odin hung himself from the branches of the tree. He stayed there for 9 days and 9 nights, hungry and thirsty, walking a thin line between life and death. The winds battered his body and the darkness played tricks on his mind. But in the end, he unlocked the secret of the runes. The runes were not just symbols, but codes in a language that represented the soul of the universe. With these symbols, Odin learned to see the future, make prophecies, and cast spells. But at the same time, what the runes showed him made the fate of Asgard clear. Ragnarok, a prophecy of destruction, death, and rebirth. When Odin learned this truth, his unease never subsided, because no matter how powerful he was, the end of the gods was written. And then, my friends, the gods turned to another sage, a Volva. Volvas were female seers from ancient times, beings who knew the secrets of the universe and could see the past and the future at the same time. One day, Odin summoned the courage to resurrect a Volva. He wanted to hear her prophecies, but what he heard would only make his heart heavier. The Volva told the story of Ragnarok. Fenrir would be freed from his chains. Jormungandr would rise from the waves and submerge the world, and Loki would challenge the gods with his armies. One by one, he painted the end of Odin and Thor, Freya, and the other gods. But the prophecies did not only speak of death, for Ragnarok was also a sign of rebirth. The gods would fall, but there was a newness that would take their place. With these prophecies, Odin turned more and more inward. A silence, a waiting, began to reign among the gods. Everything seemed to be going well, but a shadow had fallen over the splendor of Asgard. Each god was aware of the fate he would one day face. Thor knew he would meet Jormungand for the last time. Odin knew he would die between Fenrir's teeth, but none of the gods bowed to these realities. They would fight their battles with honor. This was the most human aspect of the gods, choosing to fight death even as they accepted it. But, my friends, were the gods tested only by the prophecy of Ragnarok? Or did they have any hope of changing these prophecies? And was this destruction truly inevitable? Or was it a fate that could be diverted by the actions of the gods? Think now. If you too could see the future, would you choose to fight your fate or accept it? My dear friends, I take you now to the very end of time, to the story of Ragnarok, written in blood and fire. This is the story of the moments when the fate of the gods and the world was sealed, when heroism and treachery, life and death mingled. Prepare your souls to understand this colossal clash, where everything ended yet new beginnings blossomed, for the story before you is a heart-stirring epic. In ancient times, the gods chained a gigantic wolf we call Fenrir. This creature defied the human imagination with its sheer size. Its teeth tore lightning bolts and its claws tore the earth. But Fenrir's chaining was only a temporary solution. The prophecy said that one day he would break free of his chains and fill the sky with fear. And that day came. Fenrir shattered his chains and walked towards Asgard. His steps moved the mountains and his breath darkened the sky. When the gods heard of his escape, they sounded their war trumpets. Led by Odin, all the gods of Asgard gathered on the battlefield. Each of them carried the weight of the prophecies in their hearts, yet they prepared for this battle for their honor. Another epic battle of this war was the struggle between Thor and Jormungand. Jormungand, the great serpent that encircled the oceans, rose at Ragnarok and polluted the world with his poison. With its rise, the oceans overflowed, swallowing the land and wiping out life. Thor screamed his hatred for this creature with every blow of his shield. Each had given everything to destroy the other. At the end of the battle, Thor finally dealt Jormungandr his death blow. But before he could savor his victory, The serpents spreading venom seeped into Thor's body. Thor, one of the most powerful of the gods, fell to his knees and breathed his last. The moment was a bittersweet echo of both victory and loss. Meanwhile, Loki, the enemy of Asgard, was facing his own fate. Heimdall and Loki faced each other on the fiercest field of battle. Heimdall was the watcher of the gods, a reflection of their honor and sense of duty. Loki was a complex character, both friend and foe of the gods, both creator and destroyer. The two took each other's life at the end of this battle. Heimdall's sword pierced Loki's chest, while Loki's dagger plunged Heimdall into an eternal silence. Thus this relationship of friendship and betrayal came to a tragic end. In the last act of Ragnarok, Surt took the stage. This fire giant, the lord of Muspelheim, set the world ablaze with his flaming sword. Forests burned to ash, oceans boiled, and even the sky could not withstand the flames. As Surt destroyed the entire old world, he was laying the foundations of a new one. This was the irony of Ragnarok. Destruction and creation were one and the same. When the destruction was complete, silence reigned in the sky. The earth stopped breathing for a while under the ashes, but as the prophecies said, rebirth began. The immaculate land was prepared for new life, and this cycle was the beginning of an eternal revolution. My dear listeners, this is how the end of the gods and the end of the world was written, but think about it. Was Ragnarok really the end or the beginning? Who would rule the new world? How would the legacy of the old gods be remembered? And most importantly, what can people learn from these stories? Perhaps we need to dig a little deeper to find out the secrets hidden behind Ragnarok. Are you ready? Together we will discover the secrets of this new world. My dear friends, we now step into the story of a new world born from the ashes of Ragnarok. It is a saga not only of destruction, but of hope and renewal. In a world of gods, giants, and men, the silence that comes with death did not last long. For with every end comes a beginning. And now I will tell you the story of life rising from the ashes. In the devastating war of Ragnarok, many gods lost their lives: Odin, Thor, Heimdall, Loki. But among all these losses, there was a ray of hope: Balder. Once sent to the dark realm of Hel because of Loki's tricks, Balder returned in this new world. Balder reappeared as the purest, most luminous god of Norse mythology. He was accompanied by his brother Hoder, and the two of them were now tasked with shaping this new world, leaving behind the hurts and mistakes of the past. Balder's return heralded a new era of leadership. Combining the wisdom of his father Odin and the compassion of his mother Frigg, he became a symbol of hope for gods and men alike. The mistakes of the old world would not be repeated, he vowed, but he also knew that the lessons of the past must not be forgotten. At Balder's side were Thor's sons Modi and Magni. With the strength and courage they had inherited from their father, they were ready to be the guardians of the new world. In Magni's hand was Thor's legendary hammer Mjolnir, a relic of the old world that had become a symbol of the new age. But while the gods rebuilt the world, what about the humans? In the chaos of Ragnarok, there were two humans who managed to survive as the world fell. Lift and Lifthrasir. Hidden in the roots of Yggdrasil, they were found neither by the fury of war nor by the destructive flames of Surt. Aha! They were the seeds of humanity's rebirth. The story of Lif and Lifthrasir is a testament to the will to survive and the power of hope. Even when they saw all life on earth destroyed, they did not despair, but persevered to start anew. Under the protective branches of Yggdrasil, they waited for the end of Ragnarok, and when the day came, when a new sun lit up the sky, the reborn world opened its arms to them. Stepping into the fresh soil of the new world, Life and Lifthrasir made life sprout again. From their descendants, new people were born, who grew up under the guidance of Balda and the gods to avoid repeating the mistakes of the old world. However, new beginnings are not always easy. The shadows of the old world would still confront humanity in the new age. My dear listeners, Norse mythology is not an end, but an endless cycle. Ragnarok is not only a symbol of destruction, but also of renewal. Like the branches of Yggdrasil that change with the seasons, the world is constantly leaving behind the old and embracing the new. A new sun rises from the ashes of the old world, and life goes on, each time a little wiser, a little stronger. But there is a secret in this cycle. As the prophecies say, with each cycle the world changes a little more. The relationships between humans, gods, and giants take on new forms. This new world will have its own challenges, its own tests. As humanity grows again, will it learn the right lessons this time? Can the gods avoid repeating the mistakes of the past? And most importantly, do new secrets lurking in the roots of Yggdrasil hold clues to the next cycle? Ah, my friends, the world is always in motion. Do you think there is an end to this cycle? Or will everything really repeat forever? In the next episode, we will search for the secrets behind this endless cycle and the answers hidden deep within Yggdrasil. Are you ready? Because the story doesn't end here. It's just beginning. Ah, my dear friends, I have told you of the world reborn from the ashes of Ragnarok and the mystery of endless cycles. But now we must open another door, because Norse mythology is not just a tale of the past. It breathes and shapes our lives even today. From Odin's quest for wisdom to Thor's thunder, from Loki's sneaky tricks to Yggdrasil's branches, these stories continue to resonate in our culture and in our minds. So let's discover together how these magical stories are woven into the present day. Norse mythology did not only resonate among the war cries of the Vikings and the waves of their tall ships. These myths have lived on in folk tales, sagas, and songs, passed down from generation to generation. Especially in the cold and harsh landscapes of Scandinavia, these stories expressed both people's fears and their hopes. Thor's courage, told amid snowstorms, gave strength to fishermen. Loki's tricks in the darkness of the night offered both lessons and entertainment for children. Stories of great destruction, such as Ragnarok, were perceived as a beginning, not just an end. After each hardship, people stepped into a new beginning with hope, just as Balder was reborn. These stories inspired tales and legends not only in Scandinavia, but also in other cultures. Even today, echoes of these myths can be felt in modern folk tales and epics. My dear friends, Odin, Thor, and Loki. They are not just gods of old, but powerful symbols that are ubiquitous even today. Odin, as a symbol of wisdom and sacrifice, has found his way into many works of literature and art. His discovery of the runes while hanging in Yggdrasil is a reminder of the price of learning and knowledge. In the modern world, we seem to have inherited our hunger for knowledge and curiosity from Odin, don't we? Thor is much more than the god of thunder. He is the epitome of justice and power in today's popular culture. In Hollywood movies, comic books, and even video games, Thor's hammer Mjolnir has become not just a weapon, but a symbol of justice. People have carried his story, his strength and courage into modern tales of heroism. Loki. Loki. The god of cunning and chaos has become a figure both feared and loved in the modern world. His insidious plans have been portrayed in stories and movies not only as an enemy, but sometimes as a hero. Even today, people examine Loki's complex personality with understanding and admiration, because he represents both the dark and creative sides of human nature. Norse mythology was not limited to legends. It permeated every corner of art and literature. From the Yggdrasil motif in the wood carvings of Viking ships to Balder's radiant face in modern paintings, these stories have been immortalized in art. From Wagner's operas to Tolkien's fantasy worlds, the influence of Norse mythology is palpable. Many of the fantasy stories we read today were inspired by Thor's battle cries or Odin's quest for wisdom. The culture of the Vikings, combined with their warrior spirit and seafaring prowess, became a cornerstone of the identity of the Scandinavian countries of today. Today, you can still find traces of this mythology in Norway, Sweden, or Iceland. The story of Ragnarok represents the will of the Nordic people to overcome adversity, while Balder's rebirth is seen as a symbol of hope and renewal. My dear viewers, Norse mythology is not just a myth of the past. It lives on in cycles like time itself. The wisdom of Odin, the courage of Thor, and the complexity of Loki are ubiquitous in our modern world. These myths are not just stories told, but symbols that guide our understanding of human nature. But what do you think is behind the fact that these myths live so powerfully in the modern world? Perhaps people need the stories of the past to understand themselves and to have hope for the future. But what impact do you think these myths will have on future generations? Are you ready to watch and discover together? My dear friends, the time has come to recall the traces of this long journey we have taken together. Our story began in the cold winds of the north and continued through a fascinating world of gods, heroes, and ancient myths. With each step, we discovered new secrets, became entangled in the mysteries of legends, and lost in the immortal echoes of Norse mythology. Now, let's put all these pieces together and see the whole story unfold before our eyes again. It all started with that great void, Ginnungagap. There was no light, no darkness, no sign of life, no sound, But then the scorching fire of Muspelheim and the freezing cold of Niflheim met, and the first sparks gave birth to life. Ymir's giant body became a world in the hands of the gods. Yggdrasil, the tree of life, planted its roots in the foundations of this creation and stretched its branches to the sky. It whispered to us the ancient truth that the universe is interconnected. When Odin, together with his brothers Vili and Ve, defeated Ymir and founded a new world, they wove not only a web of order, but also a web of destiny. Humanity was born from the breath and essence of the gods. Asgard and Embla were the first seeds of humanity. The gods gave them mind, soul, and life. With these divine gifts, humanity learned to survive, grow, and tell stories. But the world of the gods was not always peaceful. Odin's quest for wisdom, hanging himself from the branches of Yggdrasil to learn the secret of the runes, showed us that knowledge is never easily gained. Every drop of blood, every painful sacrifice, was part of a great legacy that is remembered even today. Of course, my dear friends, this story would be incomplete without the never-ending struggle between gods and giants. Thor's epic battles with the giants on his Mjolnir taught us both the power of the gods and the need to protect it. Loki's games and betrayals reminded us how chaos threatens order. But Loki was also a creative genius, teaching humans to see the opportunities in chaos. The end of that blessed order among the gods was inevitable. Volva's prophecies whispered that Ragnarok would come. Fenrir's breaking of his chains, Loki's confrontation with Heimdall on the battlefield, Thor's deadly struggle with Jormungand. This battle was not only the end of the gods, but also the harbinger of a rebirth. The hands of Surt that engulfed the world in flames were not only destruction, but the beginning of a new life that would rise from the ashes. In the aftermath of Ragnarok, the survivors among the gods and the new representatives of humankind established a new order in this devastated world. Lith and Lithrasir rewove the future of humanity, while gods like Balder and Hodra became the lights of the reborn world. The hope hidden in the roots of Yggdrasil, the tree of life, spread throughout the universe. Every ending is a new beginning, my dear friends. This cycle repeats itself not only in mythology, but in every aspect of life. And all these stories are not just echoes of the past. They continue to be part of our lives today. Odin has inspired modern literature and art as a symbol of wisdom and sacrifice. Thor lives on in heroic stories as a symbol of justice and power. Loki, with his complexity and chaos, shed light on the depths of human nature. The books we read today, the movies we watch, and the heroes we imagine are shaped by the echoes of these myths. Norse mythology is not only about the past. It is also a mirror that reflects our hopes, dreams, and fears for the future. Ah, my dear friends, here we come to the end of another story, but you know that every ending also opens the door to a new beginning. Today, on this long and rich journey into the icy world of Norse mythology, we have explored together the fates of gods, the perseverance of giants, the resilience of men, and the cycle of the universe. we have seen that each story is connected to the next. Each event is an echo of the next. Just like the roots of Yggdrasil, everything touches and feeds on each other. Remember, without the spark born from the silent emptiness of Ginnungagap, nothing would exist. In the world created from the giant body of Ynir, wisdom could not have emerged without Odin's sacrifice. Loki's cunning and chaos could not make sense without showing us the value of order. And without Ragnarok, the seeds of a new beginning could not have been sown. Everything was a cycle, and this cycle was the story not only of the gods, but also of us. But my friends, shouldn't we pause at this point to reflect? What do these legends tell us today? Perhaps the Norse gods, giants, and humans symbolize our struggles in life. We all have to face our own Fenrir and experience our own Ragnarok at some point. But if after every dark night there is a dawn, we too can rise from the ashes, right? Is what we have told in this video just an old fairy tale? Or is it an ancient wisdom that is being carried forward and guiding us today? How do we feel Odin's sacrifice, Thor's power, Loki's turmoil in our modern lives? Perhaps we will look for answers to these questions together in the next step. And now, dear viewers, I would like to leave you with a question. If you were a figure in the shadow of Yggdrasil, in the world of gods and giants, what role would you play? A warrior who maintains order, or a sage who understands chaos? Perhaps a narrator who writes a new story out of the loop. Perhaps we will find the answers to these questions in our next video. I will be honored to welcome you again on this journey from myth to fact, from the dusty pages of history to the modern world. Until then, may the branches of Yggdrasil provide you with protection, and the wisdom of the gods light your path. See you on our next adventure, my friends.